Hello and welcome to Glasstire's 2025 Spring Preview. I am Brandon Zeck,
I'm Gabriel Martinez.
and today we're going to take you through some museum shows that are upcoming this spring in Texas. Our entire staff went through, searched out everything we could find, and we've come to this list. It's going to be in no particular order. It's 6 shows all across the state, kind of leaning a little bit on Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth this year, just how it shook out. There's, of course, a ton of other great shows opening. A ton of shows have already opened. We recommend you check out our event listings, but we're going to go ahead and jump in. First on our list is Marisol, a Retrospective, which is coming to the Dallas Museum of Art from February to July. It was organized by the Buffalo AKG Art Gallery in Buffalo, maybe better, more widely known as the Albright Knox, which has a wonderful collection. The show was kind of started there because Marisol, when she died in 2016, bequeathed her estate to the museum. So this museum has a wonderful collection of her work. Marisol, if you don't know her name, she's kind of a one-name artist, but her given name was Marisol Escobar. So she was a pop artist in the 60s, is maybe one of the lesser known pop artists of that generation. I've loved her work whenever I've seen it anywhere. A lot of these kind of larger sculptures that definitely fit within the characteristics of pop art, but are also kind of distinctly different from some of her contemporaries. She pulled out a little bit of the art world in the 60s and 70s, did a lot of work with dance companies, did some public work, but she did a lot of self-portraits. Her work's satirical, her work's funny, her work is even on the surface, but kind of deeply biting, like all good pop art is. And I'm very excited for the show. Once I found out it was coming to Dallas, I was thrilled to be able to get the chance to see it.
Number 2 on our list is Joe Overstreet, Taking Flight at the Menil Collection. That runs January 24th to July 13th. I'm really excited to see this show. I want to see them in person. I want to see how they're installed. They're mostly non-figurative abstraction, hard-edged abstraction. He kind of overlaps with Sam Gilliam, but unlike Gilliam, a lot of it is hard-edged abstraction. He's mixing social politics with non-figurative work, which I think is really interesting. That's something I'm fascinated by. It's one of the shows of the 6 of almost all of these shows that are artists that are in need of getting some extra love and extra attention. There seems to be one of the themes of the spring exhibitions is artists who are getting their due attention.
And I think it's been great to see some of these pieces have been installed in collection rehangs of the Menil in the not so distant past. And I think the Menil just as a venue is kind of a perfect, beautiful, light-filled blank slate for these works, which are very airy and like parachutes almost.
Yeah.
Next on our list is Adrian Esparza, Remnants of Distance, which is on view at the Art Museum of Southeast Texas in Beaumont. This exhibition technically opened in December. It's on view through March, so we're fudging this a little bit, but it officially opened last week in January. So we're including this on the list. Adrian Esparza, the artist from El Paso, Texas. He shows in Dallas with Chris Worley. He's perhaps best known, and I think the show is kind of centered around Mexican serapes, and he unspools the thread of the serapes and makes these wonderful geometric 1 and 2 vanishing point abstractions out of the textile pieces. He's been doing this for a while. The work is obviously symbolic on many different levels. It's meditative. It's a Texas artist doing work that is really meaningful and thoughtful, and work that's been more widely recognized outside of Texas. So the Art Museum of Southeast Texas always does exhibitions that are kind of take on this tenor, and I'm really excited to get out to Beaumont to go see it.
Yeah, this will be one you don't want to miss. Number 4 is Layered Lives, the art of 9 contemporary Cuban women. It's at the Amarillo Museum of Art. It's 3 generations of artists creating work over the last 30 years. And there's photography, ceramics, collage. It kind of runs the gamut. It seems very interesting. I think Cuban artists have a lot to say. This looks like a fascinating show, and I can't wait to see it.
This next pick on our list is at the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth. It's a show called Modern Art and Politics in Germany, 1910 to 1945. It's more than 70 paintings that are drawn from the Neue National Gallery in Berlin, Germany. This is definitely a historical show on our list. I love it when museums present shows like this that are really, really meaty. And I mean, if you're thinking about German art from the period of 1910 to 1945, those 35 years post-war, pre-war, it's crazy. Like the all of the different political movements that were happening that artists were responding to. I mean, if we're going to talk about political art or art that's dealing with social malcontent, this is an exhibition that really gets to the heart of that in that time. We're talking about expressionist painters like Kirchner and Emil Nold. We're talking about Otto Dix. We're talking about Hannah Hoch. We're talking about Catherine Kollwitz, George Gross, Max Beckmann. It's kind of a greatest hits. And I mean, what better place to get this show from than the Neue National Gallery, which, I mean, it's the heart of where some of these works live.
I'm excited about this show. There's so many works I've never seen in person, so I really want to see. I want to look at George Gross's, the way he paints hands, and there's so many good pieces in here. It also seems eerily prescient. It was between the world wars, and it was kind of right around the corner from all the tragedy that came. I am excited about this show.
And that show is going to run March 30th through June 22nd in the Kimball Art Museum's Piano Pavilion.
Number 6 on the list is Tamara de Lempicka. It's at the MFAH. It runs from March 9th to May 26th. She was a giant of Art Deco painting, had really, been successful in her life. The show has 90 works, mostly figurative work, but there are some still life. I'm also want to see these up close, see how the painting technique that she uses. It's so fascinating. I've only seen them reproduced online in books. On the cover of many books of fiction, she did a bunch of covers back in the day when I worked in the bookstore. They have drawings and studies. I don't know if those have been shown that often. There's also costumes and photos from the time, sort of peripheral programming from the museum. She fled Poland and then fled Russia, came to the US and lived all over, including in Houston.
She kind of made her second home in Houston, right?
I mean, that's totally fascinating. I'm so curious. I wonder where she lived in the city. Anyway, this is a show not to be missed. It's up for about 2.5 months, so it is a pretty important one, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, this is such an interesting exhibition for the MFA to kind of have as one of their big spring shows. It was organized in conjunction with the Fine Art Museum of San Francisco. It got a really good review in the New York Times. You mentioned it, but I have to put a point on it. I'm really excited for all of the different inclusions in addition to her work. Like the Museum of Fine Arts Houston has a great costume collection, a great design collection that's been put together by Cindy Strauss and others along, over the past however many years. And I think the inclusion of those things will really help kind of round out the show and put her work in perspective or in context, which is something that I would love to see more solo shows and especially historical solo shows do.
I agree.
And those are our picks for our spring preview. There's plenty more to see. Like we said, plenty of gallery shows that have already opened or are currently opening. So check out the event listings and get out there and go see some art.
Go see some art.